mold me, shape me, help make me more than what I am.
Reaching the lost.
I'm just here to tell you that God's in the process right now of establishing some bridges.
Teaching the found.
We've got to be able to get a generation from one side over into the next.
With passion.
There is power. Power in the name.
And purpose.
I just had to make up my mind a long time ago that I'm going to do this come hell or high water.
Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner.
And I want to talk to you for just a moment from the subject, open your treasure. Open your treasure. Open your treasure. Turn to your neighbor and say, open your treasure. They opened their treasure and they presented to him gold. First king brings gold from his kingdom. And now gold represents money. It was that unit of money because we use gold in order to create coins and also ornaments, whether it's the jewelry that we wear, but gold is primarily used for coins and ornamentation. Those wonderful, marvelous things that we have as ornaments, and gold is an alloy, and it has to go through fire so that when you come out as not regular gold, not any kind of gold, but what kind? Pure gold. And if you've never been through the fire, see, it's the fire of life that fires you and gets some of the alloys, that mixture out of you, the compromise out of you, the straddling of the fence out of you, the trying to serve the devil and then coming to church at the same time, trying to walk with God and then run with devil. It'll hurt you. You go through enough fire and some of that stuff will start coming out of your life in a marvelous way. So they brought unto him gold. They opened, and out of their treasures they brought to him gold, because you ought to have pure gold faith. You ought to have unfeigned faith that is genuine, that is golden. And let me tell you this, that the greater the glory, the greater the weight. The greater the glory. I mean, you know, anybody who's got a 3-carat diamond, carat is a unit of weight, isn't it? See, 18-carat gold is more valuable than 14-carat or 10-carat or 12-carat because it's greater weight. The greater the weight, the greater the glory, the greater the weight. So whenever you see people in a glorified position in life, know that the greater the glory that comes with their position, their status in life, also the greater the weight. You don't get great glory where people are celebrating you and calling your name and all of that kind of thing. You don't get great glory also without corresponding weight, because the weight goes with the glory. And if you want the glory but don't want the weight, you are sadly mistaken. When you talk about the glory of God, it is the kabod of God. It means the weightiness or the heaviness of God. There is a substance to God's presence. You know how some people come in and they just blow off, they blow in, they blow off, and then they blow out? They're just like some hot air, but there's no substance to them. They can talk a good game, but they can't walk it. Instead of walking the talk, they stumble the mumble. And so you have to have it where you are pure gold, and you get the pure gold. What they did, they opened up their treasure. And I'm just here to remind you today that on this day that we are celebrating as the birth of our Lord, that there's a treasure in you. There's something of gold that comes out of your life. It is the precious that is taken out of the vial. That whatever you've been through, that out of everything that you've been through, something gold comes out of that. And you ought to come out of the stuff that you've been through in your life, and you ought to come out with a resolve that I wouldn't take nothing from a journey. I may have made some bad mistakes, but those mistakes that I made me the person that I am today. I wouldn't have been as humble as I am today without those mistakes. I wouldn't have been as understanding of other people that are hurting without those mistakes in my own life. I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't been through what I've been through. And so you ought to get to that place in your life where I wouldn't take nothing from a journey. It may not be grammatically correct, but you know what I mean. Wouldn't take nothing from a journey. Because when you come out of that, you know that I'm coming out as pure gold. And so they brought unto him 3 different things: gold, gold, gold. Something to see, something to see. They brought him something to see. And you ought to bring God something that he can see, not just merely hear. Do you ever notice the Bible says those that he has brought out of darkness into his marvelous light, that we should show forth the praises of him, show it forth? That means that there ought to be some gold that you can see. The gold is what you see. Listen, you don't get gold to hide it. Gold is to flash. It's to surround with bling bling. Yeah, I mean, it's to see. It is to see. You use gold to see. So they brought unto him gold. There's something that you've been through in your life that now you see that as your gold. Now you open out of what you have seen in your life and you begin to let that be the treasure that you are still bringing to present to Jesus and other people. You share with them. And the second thing that they brought was frankincense. Frankincense. Frankincense, something to smell. Frankincense was a perfume. It was designed out of the stench, because I don't know whether you all have ever, I've been to the scene of a crime where blood was shed, and it is a terrible stench when the blood of an animal or the blood of a human being has been spilled in a place. It creates a terrible stench that is repulsive to the human system. So they would take, because they killed so many animals, they would take frankincense and sprinkle it, and that frankincense would clean. It would clean the palate. It would sanctify the atmosphere. It would take the stench out of death and make it where it became received unto the Lord. And your frankincense today is your prayer. Our prayer comes as a sweet-smelling incense unto the Lord that rises up to him. It is the frankincense of our prayer, of what you've been through. It's something to smell, because listen, if you don't get the frankincense sprinkled on your sacrifice, then you are in the midst of putrefying flesh. If you don't get the frankincense, then your flesh will stink. But God, after he has dealt with you from all of the sin that you've been in, he's got to sprinkle you with frankincense. He's got to get the odor of where you've been and what you've been through out of you. And so there is a need for frankincense, because when God brings you out, he's going to give you something to see. There's going to be a little gold, and there's going to be some smell good. Wouldn't it be repulsive if a man went out on a date with a woman and she looked like $1 million and was built like a brick house and she had an odor problem? Wouldn't that be discouraging? To have the hair laid, the fingernails meticulously manicured, and to be just meticulously dressed in every sense of the word, and then homegirl is stinking like a wild animal. Wouldn't that be a terrible turnoff? If you get ready to turn and have an intimate moment and halitosis meets you and you have to rebuke the devil out of her mouth, wouldn't that? So there must be a frankincense, something to smell. And so it comes because whenever you've been through stuff in the world, the wages of sin is death, and death always stinks because it rots, it is putrefying, and without the sanctification of the Lord coming into your life, your flesh is putrefying. And when God comes in, no matter what you've been through, he sprinkles you with frankincense, because otherwise the sacrifice would stink so much that it would repel God. So frankincense has to come, and it cleans up that area where there has been death, and it sanctifies the atmosphere. It gives you something to smell. And then the myrrh. This is a special ointment. This mixture of myrrh was also put with another ointment that they called gall when Jesus was on the cross, and they offered it to him because it is antiseptic in its qualities. It has an antibiotic property, and it became an antiseptic, and it also was used in that mixture of some other things to actually deaden pain. So the Lord already knew that when some of you all got married that you were going to go through pain. So he was already receiving in himself what you would later need. The myrrh to help to deaden the pain. Even though when it was offered to Jesus, he refused to take it because he had to feel all of the pain, because you cannot heal what you cannot feel. And so he felt it and took it like a man and felt all of the pain. But he gives us myrrh, as an antiseptic, it was already prophesying to let you know that through the gold that you're going to go through the fire. But when you come out, you're coming out as pure gold. And that there's going to be death around you. But God says, even though your mama's going to die, your dad is going to die, your husband is going to die, your wife is going to die, children might die, your friends are going to die. He says, I've got frankincense to make it so that you don't loathe life, that you can still receive it, and it can still be beautiful even when precious things have been lost, that frankincense makes it palatable. So one is something to see, another is something to smell, and the myrrh is something to feel, because it becomes an antiseptic in its quality. And it was a reddish brown to a reddish yellow in color, and they put it on a person in order to help bring healing to the situation. And it smelled wonderful as well, but it was bitter to the taste. Isn't it something that they were bringing him something that was bitter to take? But not everything that life serves you is sweet, and I'm so glad that they were real with us by sharing with us the realness of it. And through everything that you get just from 3 kings of Orient coming and bringing something, what they were bringing was not merely just a gift, because who in the world would bring incense to a baby? Frankincense. Who would bring myrrh to a baby? He was bringing stuff that he would need for his destiny. And so you'll discover that you give out of your treasure, and out of your treasure you give out of something, listen to me carefully, out of your treasure, because so many people come to a place in life that they don't even think that they have anything in life to give. There was one father that was disconnected emotionally with his daughter, and his daughter grew up with the sense that my daddy does not love me at all. And upon his deathbed, the daughter came and her emotions were cold toward him. She felt like, you're just a man that lived in the house with us, because he had abdicated his responsibilities as a father, and she could never understand why. And on his deathbed, he told his daughter, he said, honey, you ought to be a teacher. He knew her better than she thought. She was confused and didn't know what she ought to be, but he saw in her as a young child a teaching gift and set her on the course of her destiny. She got destiny directions from a father on his deathbed, and she discovered after he died that he knew me. Secondly, she discovered that he loved me. And when she couldn't answer the question, Daddy, why did you leave us? The resounding answer that came to her was that he left her because he felt that he had nothing to offer. And you don't know how many people that walk out of the lives of people in their life because they feel like they don't have anything to offer. But open out of your treasure, because out of your treasure there's some gold, something to see, something that you've seen. Out of your treasure, something that you've seen, something that you have witnessed. Out of your treasure, something that you have frankincense. Say frankincense. Something that you have sensed. Are you listening? Frankincensed. There's something that you can't exactly put your finger on, but you can sense it. And out of your treasure, you minister to people with what you have seen. And you minister out of what you can sense. Sometimes you don't know how much people's success is contingent, not on what they knew, but on what they sensed. That I can sense that this one is going to make it. I can sense that this one is going to be a hit. I can sense that this business is going to fly. I don't know. I don't have any proof. I don't have any statistics. I can't tell you any facts on it, but I sense something. And you give to people out of what you have seen and out of what you have sensed. I'm telling you, ladies, listen, you go home and you check with your mama, because if your mama doesn't sense your husband, oh my. You don't understand that there's something that you can smell in the spirit. I'm telling you, you bring them around mama, and mama can say, I smell a rat and the wind is blowing from his direction. There's something that you can sense. And so you open your treasure and you minister to people out of what you have seen, out of what you have sensed, or out of your myrrh, the bitterness that have come out of your life and what you have felt. It's 3 things. what you've seen, what you've franken-sensed, or what you have felt. You learn out of your pain. Listen, don't let your pain just be your pain. You turn your pain into somebody else's wisdom. Out of what you have sensed, if you sense something is not right about the situation, open your treasure and give to people out of what you have seen, your gold, your frankincense, what you smelled or sniffed out in the spirit, what you've sensed, or thirdly, your myrrh, what you've felt, because you've hurt and you've gone through pain, and God has brought a healing balm of Gilead into your life, and that healing salve that you felt, now out of that you can tell, baby, now what you need to do is go in there and put some of this on it. Go and take your dose of that. Baby, let me tell you, you're gonna hurt and you might be crying now, but let me tell you, 3 weeks later, you're gonna feel a whole lot better. Next year this time, girl, you're gonna be so glad you're doing that because you've already felt it, you've been through it. You open your treasure they brought to the king out of that treasure. And I just want you to be reminded that you have treasure in your life that you don't even realize that you have. Things that you've seen, things that you've sensed, and things that you have felt. Now offer that to Jesus and say, Lord, if there is anything in me that is usable out of what I have seen, out of what I have sensed, or what I have felt. And Lord, if you've got another one of your children down here that needs something out of my treasure, Lord, I offer it to you. That's all I came to tell you today. And I pray that you'll just give it to Jesus and let it be a blessing to other people.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.